I want to say hello and welcome to everyone, and thank you very much for coming out for this Sacred Music History Video Forum, we're calling these. This is one more in a series that we're doing, the program for the study of African diaspora, sacred music, and musicians at California State University, Dominguez Hills, and its Georgia and Nolan Payton Archive of Sacred Music. We visited several churches. In each one of the churches, we've done a video forum in which we have been attempting to begin to document the growth and development of Black church music in Los Angeles. And it's a study we find of roots. And that is the key question, is where are the roots and how has the music flowed from those roots to the present day. So I thank you so much for agreeing to participate in this series. We really appreciate that. I'm Hansonia Caldwell, and I want to introduce or have all of our participants in the dialogue introduce themselves. Okay.
Don Lee White.
And Don is one of the longtime board members of our group. Okay.
I'm Laverne M. McCoy, student of history, music history, African American music history.
And a member of Jubilee Choir. Okay.
I'm Halima Anderson. I'm a graduate student at Cal State Dominguez Hills in the humanities, and also getting an education in sacred music.
And the Cal State Dominguez Hills has a humanities graduate program, master's program, and we have benefited from having some wonderfully strong students from that program serve as archive liaisons. And so thank you for your participation with us. I would like to now turn it over to Quayford.
Thank you so very much. I'm Quayford Coleman, Administrative Assistant to Pastor Melvin V. Wade Sr. here at Mount Moriah Baptist Church. And to my left is our Minister of Music, Minister Dwayne Knox. And then to my right is Pastor Melvin V. Wade Sr., Senior Pastor of the Mount Moriah Baptist Church. And then to his right is April Williams. Our church is celebrating, will be celebrating its 61st year this year. And April has been a member of our church 65 years, so that, and a part of the music ministry.
Oh, no, look at the year over 22.
Yes. And so she brings such a wealth of history, especially in the music department, because of her tenure here at our church. And so she is a part of this. She's a part of this panel. Also, some of our panelists will leave and others will come, but we'll get through it all. But first of all, let me say thank you so very much to this, to the board for selecting Mount Moriah. Anytime that we get an opportunity to go into the vault of our history, we are blessed. And we have such a rich history, and we're not selfish with our history, but we certainly preserve our history. And so anytime we go into the vault of our history, we're blessed. And especially our musical, to bring out of that vault our musical treasures. And we appreciate them and we hold them in high esteem. And as one of the terms that our pastor has been preaching and teaching and giving us commentary on is the favor of God. And we count the favor of God, and we hold it in high esteem for giving us such a rich musical legacy, gospel music legacy. And so it is the favor of God, and we try to, and we want to hold and cherish that. And by your coming today and Friday and then Saturday of next week, helps us to cherish that even more, because we have an opportunity to look at it and then to see the very favor of God upon us. Okay, Dr. Duro, thank you so much. Okay. Thank you so very much. And We are delighted to have with us to speak and to just take her rearview mirror out and look back in the musical legacy of Mount Moriah Baptist Church, the one and only, the Dr. Margaret Pleasant Duro. We're just delighted to have her in the room with us. Dr. Duro, you come with a wealth of history. And just
because I'm older, I know a lot.
Well, both counts. All right, you're guilty as charged. We were looking back at our musical legacy here at Mount Moriah, and we have 9 ministry musics in the life of our church. And as you know, we'll be celebrating our 61st birthday in June. And just talk about our first ministry music, Mrs. Olga W. Pleasant, which
Well, the great thing about Olga W. Pleasant, my mother, was that she organized every choir that came through Mount Moriah. Not only did she organize it, she trained the people to play for them and to teach them. I knew we were playing for Sunday school over at Taborian Hall. We could hardly reach the keys. But my mother insisted that we learn piano. She trained Bobby Wesley. She had a good knack in putting children into the ministry at an early age. And I think that's where we're lacking today. Churches have to train their own musicians so that the musicians can think like the church. And so all of the musicians that came through our church were basically trained at our church. Bobby Wesley, Alexander Hamilton, Barbara Gillespie, me, all of us were trained there. And she organized the children's choir. I know she was instrumental in the senior choir organization of that, and what they call the inspirational chorus. That was the gospel choir. They got to be the hot stuff then. Because the senior choir was singing spirituals and anthems, and under the directorship of R.L. Hatter, who was a master at teaching the anthems and spirituals. We grew up on Let Mount Zion Rejoice. We could sing it by memory, and the Hallelujah chorus.
So you sang under Dr. Hatter?
Well, I grew up under him.
Okay.
And he actually was major in our first Mount Moriah building over at Taborian Hall and on McKinley. He was our major influence. Of course, when we got to this corner where we are now, R.L. was still here for a while, but then Thurston Frazier, who was gospel-oriented, one of the greatest, I consider him as my mentor, because I didn't ever think I would do more than sit at the keyboard. I didn't want to do anything more than sit at the keyboard. But as time went by, Thurston pushed me out of my comfort zone. And actually, Gwen Leitner, who was also a major musician at the old Mount Moriah, did she come over here with us?
yes.
But she actually was a gifted gospel pianist that played a lot with Thurston. And later, her ministry expanded to the accompanist for Mahalia Jackson. She traveled with her. So we had some real great musical experiences because Thurston was a magnet for contemporary gospel musicians. My daddy had traveled around the country with Mahalia Jackson. So when they came to Los Angeles, they came to Mount Moriah. We were in the company of Doris Akers, Mahalia Jackson, the Sally Martin Singers, Joe May, which was Charles May's dad. All of these people were regularly in our presence. We witnessed the writing, the first introduction of I Find No Fault, the songs that Only What You Do for Christ Will Last. Those were all introduced at our church. We've come this far by faith. Albert Goodson came through our congregation often. So we knew all of these people very, very well. My daddy was a noted singer. And by the way, Don Lee and Albert Goodson, McNeil, often accompanied him. So we had a good foundation for the best music in the city of Los Angeles. And by my mother being so accomplished in music, she could teach it. She couldn't sing, but she could teach it. And she actually insisted that we learn all of the genres. We knew spirituals, we knew anthems, we knew hymns. We had a good foundation in all of those areas of music. And I think that all of the history of Mount Moriah was nourished by the ability to do those kinds of songs, the variety of music. I'm kind of sorry we've dropped so much of it because it was such a foundation, a strength for us to know a Negro spiritual and the story behind it. My mother was quite a storyteller, and she knew why they sang Steal Away, and she knew how to make us understand the messages in Swing Down Sweet Chariot. And even up until her death, she was still playing for Sunday school. And I guess all that I am, I hate to say that all my brother is, because but all that we are, I really I can attribute it to my mother's spankings and scoldings and making us do what we resisted. My father was quite busy. He traveled extensively, but he expected the music to have a certain caliber. When we worship on Sunday, he expected it to be have a certain height to it. It can't be all one thing. It had to be a variety of music, and so we had to learn it all. I guess Thurston was the giant in my life. Not only because of his size. He was a giant.
Big man, a big man.
Huge. But when he moved his arms, it was just a magnificent experience. And I never thought I would ever stand on the same platform with him. But because he nurtured me and pushed me around, I was able to do some of the things that he insisted that I do. He was around when I first wrote Give Me a Clean Heart, but he wasn't in the city when I introduced it. When he came back, he heard it. He said, "Where that song come from?" And I actually didn't want to take credit for it. I said, I just wrote something and I taught it. "You taught that? That's your song?" And from then on, he was taking the music. He took I'm Glad to Gospel Music Workshop. The Lord is Speaking to Gospel Music Workshop. He made those songs live because he had the ability to interpret. So, he was excellent at making music live. He would take a hymn, There's a Garden Where Jesus, the whole church was filled with fervor and understood the depth of There's a Garden Where Jesus is waiting. And I'm telling you, something about that gift of interpreting music added a dimension to our ministry that we've never been able to regroup. I mean, we've never been able to. I mean, he mastered a mass choir. He mastered it. He could take 3 of our choirs and put them together, and it was like we had been rehearsing all year for one performance. He was just a genius at that. Thurston was excellent at interpretation and being able to take any song and making it live. When he stood there in all of this bigness, you just knew that God was going to do something through the music. And he wasn't gentle at all. He didn't use his size to his benefit.